All right, so the last macromolecule that we're going to talk about is a very long polymer. And this is what you see here is DNA. Hopefully you recognize this shape. This is called the double helix. It looks kind of like a twisted ladder. And so this is what makes up our this is our genetic makeup. It's this one molecule that gets passed down from generation to generation, from cell to cell. And so let's write this down. So nucleic acids. Okay, and so to recognize a nucleic acid, the first thing to look for would be maybe this double helix, but there's another kind of nucleic acid. So there's not just DNA, there is this stuff called RNA. Okay, so DNA stores our information long term. This is the DNA that gets passed down in our families. RNA, on the other hand, these are just small copies of genes. Okay, so what ends up happening is DNA is in the nucleus, which is kind of the central processing center of the cell, and so the DNA hangs out in there. Anytime we need a little bit of the DNA, we need some information about it, RNA is made. So a small photocopy of a book, you can think of it like that. So the the RNA is just a little small piece, and it doesn't have these two strands, okay? So RNA is not a double helix, it's just a single just chain of polymers, okay? So when you're trying to recognize a nucleic acid, there's a few things you want to look for. So let's just zero in on this section right here. Okay, this part that I've circled here, this is called a nucleotide. Okay, and a nucleotide is composed of 3 parts, okay? This part right here, you see it kind of has this ring shape that looks very similar to a carbohydrate sugar. And that's exactly what it is. So it's going to have a sugar, okay? And this P right here, this P, oh, it's already labeled here for you. The P stands for phosphate. And phosphate is a phosphorus and 3 oxygens on that. So looks something like that. So phosphate's going to be right here. So the sides of the ladder alternate sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, and it just goes down the line like that. And so phosphate, sugar, and there's always going to be this thing connected, and this thing has either 2 rings or 1 ring, and what's not shown here is that these rings contain nitrogen. So both rings will contain nitrogen, so you'll see that. Okay, so there's 2 types of bases. One type is a single ring and one type has this double ring, so you'll read more about that in your chapter. Okay, you just need to be able to recognize this. So sometimes you'll see, if it's DNA, you'll see that these bases, these nitrogen containing bases, that's this right here, the nitrogen base, here let me label that. Okay, so a lot of times you'll see the nitrogen bases kind of hydrogen bonding here together. So these indicate a hydrogen bond. And so hydrogen bonds, remember from water, they're kind of weak. They can be pulled apart pretty easily. And so that's by design. DNA tends to unzip, and a new copy of DNA comes in and builds off the old strand. And so since DNA needs to be copied, the easiest way to do that is to just kind of rip it in half, build the other sides, and then you have 2 copies. So that's what's going on there. So you have to know that its function is that it contains genetic information. You got to be able to recognize the molecule, and you got to know that it's got a series of covalent bonds here. It's got some hydrogen bonds. It's a polymer, which means it's multiple monomers repeating. Okay, so that's what you got to know about nucleic acids. We're going to study a lot more about that in the genetics unit. So for now, you just kind of have to understand the chemistry behind it. Okay, good luck. See you guys tomorrow.